And welcome in to the Gaming Discourse. I am Tyler Frater alongside Richard D. the Cruz.
Hi there.
And Chief Engineer Lieutenant Commander Connor Frater, who is not here today. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at the Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse, where we post videos. It is Monday, December 27th, 2021. So Christmas was Saturday.
It was, yeah. It
was. In between this show and our past show, big sort of drop off in news because not a lot has happened because people have Christmas off and stuff like that. So what we're going to do this show is we're still going to dive into some news, but it's going to be some older stuff that we are sort of catching up on or that we didn't cover in the past. People Make Games released a follow-up video to their video about Roblox that we'll talk about and how they exploit children. And I think it's as simple as that. We'll get into the debate, but
yeah, there's a lot more stories in that story itself.
Yeah,
and
but I think that sentence is fairly
what
fair.
You need to know.
Yeah, exactly. The Raven Software layoffs that happened earlier in the month, and then actually probably the one story that is somewhat recent is Ubisoft's decision. Ubisoft's I don't even remember their Quartz NFT platform.
NFT baby,
which is just whatever. We'll get to it. But games. Been playing games.
Been trying to. I've been going at Halo a little more.
Single player or multiplayer?
Yeah, single player.
Oh,
single player.
Cool.
Been doing single player.
Oh yeah, because your save or you met a bug and you had to restart from a previous save.
And then I got past that, which is fine. Halo Infinite, I think, is a really great return for the Halo series. As far as gameplay goes, as far as
good to hear
storytelling to an extent. And everybody is on cloud nine, I feel, when they talk about it, when they review it. It's been getting stellar reviews. I started playing a little more past that boss fight I told you about last week. And I don't believe I enjoy the mission structure.
Okay.
I feel that it's if you take the first level of Halo 1 and just said, let's do this, but like open.
Oh, you mean
world area.
once you're off the pillar of bottom?
Yes. Yeah. When you crash land on the Halo. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, let's just take this and make it an open world. It's like, that's cool. Yeah. I love wandering around it. There's not a ton, of course. Halos aren't generally populated by people, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. I mean,
just a couple instances we've had in the series, but so it's kind of empty, but I like traversing through it. It's nice. It's kind of serene. It's a little cathartic. And then when I come across brutes, elites, grunts, it's fun to take them down. It's fun to capture FOBs because you have FOBs you can capture.
Okay. Neat.
Yeah, you have FOBs you can capture. And then from there, you can fast travel between FOBs. But it's not much. What you see is what you get. Like, you see everything within at least the first 3 missions.
Oh, wow. That's quick.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't want to say I'm being facetious, but like there's definitely more to the game, but it's the same gameplay loop, which is still very fun. But at the same time, in order for me to get to the next part of the story, the missions that I have to do or what I have to do is kind of like, okay, this is kind of arduous. I told you that I had to go through the 3 AA guns that you had to go to.
Yes. Yeah.
I was like, okay, fine. Next mission was the weapon. She was like, hey, I got to get 4 different pieces of code so I can string it together so I can unlock the spire so we can get into it. Okay. The spires, meter-wise, from your position are all like 1,500 to 3,000 meters like out in separate directions.
Okay.
Walking there would be a nightmare. So, of course, in this level, banshees are around.
Sure.
Okay, now I got to wait until the banshee sees me. And
they don't give you a vehicle to...
No, they don't just give you one outright.
So you kind of have to figure it out yourself. That's an interesting idea, the idea that you kind of have to...
Right.
That it's up to the player to like... to kind of figure out. But I could also see... I haven't played it, but I can also see it being annoying because it's like... Banshees can be annoying in Halo if you're trying to capture them.
You are in a position to where like kind of you're not in contact with anyone. Like the Marine forces that were there have kind of been like decimated.
Okay, sure.
Or
as in every Halo.
Or they're like, stuck in certain areas.
Of course.
So it's like, okay, I gotta shoot at this Banshee a couple times so you can get close enough so I can latch onto it and steal it. Then I fly to the areas. But then flying to it also doesn't take forever, but it takes long enough that I'm like, okay. before when you land at those spots, of course you can't get in until you clear out the area. So it's like rinse repeat for the 4 points, and then by the end of it, it was just like, okay, can I get this done, please? Let me do this finally. So that's the problem I have with it right now, and it's bringing down my interest in continuing it a little bit, but I don't think my enjoyment of the game has like changed, so to speak, just when it comes to that mission structure. So been doing that, and I've been trying to move to other games, figuring out what to play next. One thing I have told myself I really wanted to do was start playing VR games again, because I have not been in a while. Fanatical has a really, really wonderful Quest VR bundle right now.
Oh, okay.
I think it's like $15. It's like 9 games. So they had like Zombieland, Headshot Fever is called or something. They had like Driver, this driving game. It's like a Twisted Metal type game.
Interesting.
They had Accounting Plus, Ghost Giant, which is an excellent game. I've already played that, and
never heard of
that one is really. It's Hazel would love it.
Huh,
I don't know if I could say her name on the podcast.
Sure.
Hey, Hazel,
whoever that is,
you might like it too. I mean, it tells a really, really cute, nice story of a little cat boy who just needs a friend, and you're the ghost giant who becomes his friend. And so, like, you solve everybody's problems in town.
Oh, right.
And
cool.
the whole town is kind of like storybook style. So you can lift up a roof, but the roof is able to be lifted up, and then it kind of accordions the house so you can see in the house and like what everybody's doing.
Alrighty.
So
yeah.
So I started playing Zombieland. Zombieland is really fun. It's just a simple light gun shooter. I call them light gun shooters, but point at the zombies, shoot them. But you go through a level automatically, but through that you level up, you gain currency to which you can upgrade your weapons and stuff like that. And they have what at first I was kind of wondering if like the cast of the movie came back to voice the characters in there, and it bothered me so much that I had to actually go to the credits to see. And no, they didn't, although I forgot all their names, but most of them do a very good job at emulating the actual actors' voices.
Oh, okay, interesting.
But when I looked at the cast list, the only one who actually did come back was Abigail Breslin as the newer blonde girl. I don't know her name because I didn't see the second movie. But she actually came back to actually voice her character. But everyone else, like Woody Harrelson and stuff, like
I don't have time for this VR game.
I was like, oh, all right, yeah, right. So I was like, oh, okay. But that one is actually really fun. I find myself like just kind of jumping in, and I'll replay this level, try to get a better score, and go to the next one. There's a lot of levels too, so that one was, I mean, already worth the bundle price. But the wildest one is that I've played so far is Accounting Plus. And that game is something else. I don't know. Do you know Accounting Plus? So Accounting Plus is a game made by Squanch Games.
Oh, okay. That's the Justin Roiland.
The Rick and Morty guys.
Sure.
Right. If you are absolutely a fan of the like irreverent Rick and Morty humor, but taken to a bit more of an extreme, it's definitely up your alley if you enjoy that stuff.
Interesting.
Because it is you get your first job as an accountant, but before that you kind of go into this main menu, which the menu is the empty space. It kind of looks like a training room, when you connect your Oculus to the PC, it goes into that like grid room.
Oh yeah, like a Matrix thing.
Yes,
like Morpheus is about to introduce you to a rack of weapons or something.
Yes, so it's kind of like that. And you have this guy talking to you. I can't remember his name, but he's extremely soft spoken, and he's extremely slow speaking as well.
Okay, interesting.
And every time you come back, he's always like, "Oh, hey," he's like, "It's me. You remember? Like, I'm the main menu guy and whatnot." And so, like, you can go to like I found a basketball hoop somehow, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this is just where I practice and stuff." And you try shooting, and of course, I can never get control of like throwing things in VR. It's just, I just can't do it. So I miss all the time. And of course I'll go, "Oh, you missed." Like, "Oh, sorry." And then, so, "Oh, almost. It's okay." So you start doing, you press new game, and he's like, "All right, well, we're going to do some tests to make sure that you can play this game." "Okay, look left, look right." "Oh, all right." And he goes, oh, I know you can do it. I knew you could do it. Here's a trophy. Have a trophy. And you get a trophy. They just give you a trophy. Okay. But right before you start the game, he's like, this is the final test. Like, this is the final test you need before you can start. We got to make sure your brain's good. And it's like, okay. He's like, right in front of you are 3 Rick and Morty memes. He's like, pick which one's the best. And I was like, your favorite. It's like, wubba lubba dubba dub, pickle Rick and something else. And you pick one. And he's like, oh, that's a good one. It's like, what? So, it's your first day of accounting, and you put a virtual VR headset on,
of course,
to do your accounting job. But when you do that, it is like Inception. It keeps each level is some ridiculous level that has a VR headset in it, and you have to do whatever you have to do in each of those levels to gain access to the VR headset to put it on, and then it takes you like a level further. But each level gets so much more insane and ridiculous.
And is it like a puzzle game or
not? It's an experience.
Interesting.
It's an experience because there was nothing that stopped me. Any time I would stop, it would just kind of be this like, well, what do I do now? Oh, this vat of acid, it doesn't work on anything.
Pour it on yourself.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, that was the, you know. So the absolute bright spot is, of course, Justin Roiland, because he's in the game.
Sure.
And it's the same voices he always does, which first off makes it hilarious because it's like never changed, Justin. But secondly, it is also them going to Justin, throwing him in a recording studio and just, yeah, do whatever. And it's my favorite part so far is just you get put on trial for something and you have like a tiny little defender that's on your table and he like defends you, but the judge is Justin Roiland's voice and he's just, oh, okay, what are you doing here? What do you want? And there's no script, there's no nothing.
Awesome.
It is
on Quest 2?
Yeah, it's on Quest 2, yeah. And so
okay.
When you get this, I mean, I'll talk to you about it after the podcast. But anyways, very fun, very insane. But I played those games, and I'm trying to. I've been debating on grabbing After the Fall. I'm not sure if I should.
Have we seen reviews about that?
There are lots of people like it. The ones that don't complain about longevity. Like it's not too long of a game apparently, and there's not much to it either. But the ones who like it already like it. They've already said they've dropped 10 plus hours into it. But the idea of a VR Left 4 Dead-esque type game is very attractive.
Yes. Yep.
But as far as games, that's all I've been playing.
Okay. So I do miss VR as well. I was just telling somebody this week about how good Resident Evil 4 VR was. Resident Evil 4 VR was insanely good. Insanely good.
Yes.
But the stuff that I have been playing, so a little bit more Deathloop. I've run into a bit of a problem with Deathloop so the menus would crash out on me, and that really sucked. It seems to have been something that's fixed now. I don't know if they released a patch, but it hasn't happened to me.
Okay, good.
Since I got back, which is good. But the game crashed on me, which, let me tell you what, when the first two games that you play a lot of on the PS4, being Returnal and Deathloop, and they're both roguelike-ish, and they both crash on you, let me tell you what goes from 0 to 60 real quick. Let me tell you what gets old real quick. That's a $500 piece of hardware in there, and I don't need it crashing on games that don't have save states.
Sorry to interrupt. I have actually something worse, because on Deathloop specifically, and I did not know this until I looked it up because it happened twice. If you put Deathloop into sleep mode,
really,
you're gonna have a bad time. Yeah, your system will crash. Like it happened to me twice. Basically, when I put it to sleep, it went as if it was going to sleep, and then my TV screen turned green, like just.
That's terrifying.
And I would sit there for a minute. What happened? And then the PS5 would go boop boop boop. Like it would do the like I'm fucked up beat.
Yeah, it's not a good beat.
And then it would turn back on and it would do its like, I got to check the hard drive and make sure it's okay.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, it did that twice before I looked it up on Google, and yeah, it was. I don't know if it still is an issue, but it was an issue. And that's again, I was like, okay,
I'm pause the podcast and go shut off my PS4 now.
I was like, I'm never putting it on sleep again with this game. I'm sorry. So yeah.
That's the only downside to Deathloop is it's had so many technical problems.
Yeah.
Because other than that, it's excellent. It is excellent. I hate all the villains. I love them, but I hate them because they're just obnoxious.
Everyone?
Well, all the villains I've encountered.
Okay.
Charlie Montague is just a douche.
Yeah.
He's just a douche. Yeah. And one of the villains is like one of those, and maybe Alexi, but he's the type of guy, he's like, hey, I get up at 4:30 every morning, Alexi. Baby. Like just like one of those pseudo alpha wolf.
I like Frank.
Manosphere.
Yeah, no, he is. He totally is.
Yeah. I don't know a whole lot of. Frank's a musician, right? Yeah. And Frank and Colt had a thing. Yeah. So there's a little bit of like relationship tension there, which is interesting. I don't know what to think about Fia. She seems like she's just a crazy artist, but not necessarily evil, but I don't know.
You'll hate her.
Okay. Igor seems like he discovered something, but he doesn't seem evil either. The doctor, what's her name? Wenji's douche. Wenji's a big-time doucher. All her and all her 7 clones.
That's a fun fight.
It is a fun fight, yeah. It's Deathloop's really cool. It's fun coming up with and finding creative ways to get through missions and stuff like that. Once you start to get new weapons and new abilities, that's when the game really starts to click, because then you have all new ways to get through problems. So you can turn yourself invisible, or you get weapons that work differently. I finally found a sniper rifle, so now it's like, okay, so now it's like Hitman. Now if I can find a way to take care of a bad guy from a long distance, that completely changes the plans. I don't have to sneak through a base to get them or something like that. So it keeps adding little tiny folds like that, and it keeps being interesting. And the game's hilarious. It's really funny. I was fighting enemies, and I took out an enemy, and another enemy went, "See you tomorrow," in the middle of a firefight, which I thought was really funny. So I mean, it keeps being entertaining. It keeps being funny. Colt and Juliana, every single time they talk to each other, it's funny. There was a line of dialogue where, what did she say? She said something like, "You made me turn on him," or something like that. And Colt's response was, "I turn you on?" And Juliana just sighed and clicked the phone, which I thought was funny because their back and forth is always really hilarious like that. It's cheesy and so. And then at one point, Colt was insulting her and she hung up, and as he was insulting her, he stopped mid sentence and he's like, "Damn, she always misses my best stuff. That's why she hates me." And I thought it was hilarious. So like every time they talk to each other, it's great. They're probably my favorite characters that I've encountered this year, and I'd have to look up the actors because they both just do a great job. They
do, and I don't think you heard this on the podcast, but of course they didn't win the Game Awards. It was Maggie Robinson. I can't remember.
She did great too. Yeah, right. I'm totally fine.
She did great, and I'm fine with it as well. I just think that there is a slight difference because Maggie's performance, she was actually acting. She was doing the mocap and everything. Sure. They just simply
they're voice acting.
Yeah. And so I think that's just a tad bit more impressive, but anyways. So
Deathloop, really fun. Looking forward to getting into it more. More Phasmophobia. So Phasmophobia had another update. So it's been getting a ton of great updates this year. I really love Phasmophobia. Yeah. The new update, so I told you the game can be a lot more difficult now. You can have, so usually in Phasmo, if you're playing on easier difficulties, if the ghost hunts while you're trying to figure it out, and it kills one person on your team, then it goes away, so you can exit the house. On harder difficulties, it chain hunts now, so it kills one person and then it goes to hunt someone, and it can totally wipe an entire team. And then
the game doesn't end basically.
Once you're all dead, it ends. Yeah.
Well, sure.
But the hunt doesn't end. It lasts a much longer time. So once it kills somebody, it'll continue going on, and you have to hide for even longer. But they've added special objects now that you can find that are kind of tough to find, and each object does something different. But like one of the more obvious objects is the summoning circle, which is really neat. And so it's a pentagram with candles, right? Yeah. And what you do is you have to take the lighter and you have to light each candle. And what it guarantees is it guarantees to summon the ghost, and the ghost will hunt you. And there's certain reasons to do that, like because sometimes you'll have bonus objectives where if you have to like survive a ghost hunt, or you have to evade the ghost while it's chasing you or something like that. And so instead of waiting for it to hunt you, you can like light all the candles if it's there. And it's really creepy because it poofs into existence and it stands there screaming for a second. And then it starts to hunt. So it gives you a few seconds to run away. So that was neat. There's all kinds of new audio that's really creepy. You hear the ghost. You hear them like moan and whine, or they're like, they whisper while they walk around, which is really creepy. There's new visuals. There was a Christmas update, which was really funny because there was a Santa ghost.
I did hear about that.
And so when it hunts, you can hear jingle bells every time. That's awesome. So it's like ching, 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 which is hilarious to hide from. But yeah, so Phasmophobia is really good. And then the other thing is I'm still chucking away at Call to Arms. I don't know what it is about me playing RTS, me playing janky military sims, but I was playing away at Call to Arms. So there's a campaign mode where you play through preset missions, and then there's a conquest mode, right? Kind of like in the original Battlefronts. And I don't have the economy worked out because it's the way Call to Arms works. It's not an RTS where you have like a base and you click on it and you build a guy and he runs a commander, he runs out of the base.
Yes.
It's like friendlies spawn differently. Like you call them in with points and they come on off the map. You don't build buildings. So it's a different type of RTS. But in conquest mode, you set up like groups of soldiers, and it could be infantry, vehicles, whatever. And then you call them in and you have to win a battle. And I haven't figured how it works in conquest mode, because you can customize what is in your army. But if you have like a bunch of tanks, then you may only have 3 or 4 tanks. But if you bring a bunch of infantry, you may have 10 squads of infantry because they cost less, So I haven't figured out, but I fought the AI a couple times. Yeah. And in one battle, I brought in a tank and some infantry. And this was, it starts you off with early war stuff. So you have to gain points to research stuff, to build better stuff, to get better units. But I brought in this tank and the AI just had a bunch of infantry. So I won because there was nothing
you steamrolled them, literally.
Essentially, yes. Because there was nothing they could do. And I thought, okay, this is silly. Like, why? Like, I don't understand what's going on here. Well, I don't see what the downside is to me. It's like, it felt like I had the only tank in the world at that point. Yeah. It's like, have they not figured out the technology to take me out yet? But there was another game where they had a gun that took the tank out. So it's like sometimes the AI will bring stuff to counter your tank. Sometimes they don't. So it's kind of odd. But the thing that bothers me about campaign or conquest mode, in Call to Arms, you have to micromanage a lot of stuff. And what makes this helpful is you can change how fast time goes. So you can slow down time till it's like a crawl. Like you can watch bullets fly through the air.
Oh, okay.
So when you do that, you can go to a bunch of units and give them a bunch of orders. And then in real time, it's almost like they do everything at once. Does that make sense? Okay. Because time is so slowed down.
It's like doing the drag and then telling them all to go to one place.
And then you have a unit on the left, unit on the right, and you slow down time. You tell the unit on the left to do something. It starts running to go do that thing, but time is so slow that they're barely moving, and you can go to the other unit and tell them to do something, and then when you speed up time to normal time, they both are going essentially at the same time.
That gives you a new level of coordination.
And you can coordinate things way better. Okay, but you can't do that in conquest mode, and I don't know why. It really bothers me. But there are things you have to... There are still things you have to do to micromanage your soldiers. One thing that happened is if your soldiers are in a trench and they take fire, they'll lay down. Then they can't shoot back. So you have to tell them to stand up to shoot because they'll automatically shoot unless they're laying down. Then they won't stand back up. So you have to tell them to stand back up. That's so annoying. I had these guys in a trench, great position. They were defending an objective. It was going great. And a couple of enemy troops came at a flank of the trench. So instead of coming directly at it, they were coming parallel or not parallel with it. They're going at an entrance, which is not where you want your enemies to be if you're in a trench. So I lost like 50, like 75% of my dudes in the squad because a couple enemies just came and just fired down the trench. And it was because the AI doesn't think to stand up and defend itself.
When that happens, yeah.
And when I can slow down the game, I can go over there, tell them to stand up, and they're fine. But when you can't slow down the game, you can't get to enemies and micromanage them as much. And I don't know why, because I don't know, slowing down time is an advantage, but it's not like the AI is suddenly like dumb. Like it still knows what's going on in slow motion. Like it still can react in slow motion. So I don't know why they do that. One thing I do like is you can't save your progress in a specific battle. So if you lose a battle, you just lose it. You can't like reload a save from earlier on in the battle
and do something different.
So there's a little bit of a determinism or whatever in that, which is cool because you really have to be careful about what you do then. Mm-hmm. But I'll have to keep playing it and learn it a little bit more. But I really wish you could turn the time down, because it's silly when, like, you know, when there's two sandbags and a unit is facing one direction and I can see enemies coming up behind him, and it's like, okay, you guys just need to move to the other sandbags. Please. Just move to the other sandbags, you'll be fine. And it's like, oh god, so I have to go over to exactly. Okay, play the ad.
We want to give a massive shout out to the sponsors of this episode. They have been silently supporting us since the very beginning, and we felt it was time to give them some love. The like and share buttons have been at our side since episode 1 of the podcast. They can be found just beneath this episode. Please give them a click, it helps us greatly. If you're feeling lucky, click the bell icon to enter for a notification anytime we post new content. You may be surprised by what you get.
People Make Games uploaded a follow-up video to their video on Roblox. We won't be able to get everything because it's a 40-minute video. It's a 40-minute video that's following up on another like hour 40-minute video. So we're getting feature-length documentary here. So there's a lot to cover, and there's some of it that's not great to talk about, not fun to talk about. So content warning.
Uncomfortable, yes.
Very uncomfortable to talk about. But we're going to cover it. So their previous video detailed Roblox's in-game economy, how it exploits a lot of younger developers, specifically because Roblox has an audience that tends to be younger than a lot of other games are. Roblox is a game where you can create games.
Yes.
Right. So it has in-game tools and an engine and stuff, and you can create these games and you can monetize them, and other players can come and play your games. And so in that, there has sprouted an entire, I want to use the phrase cottage industry, but I don't know if that's correct. But you have entire groups of people now that are game developers, but they develop exclusively for Roblox.
Yes.
Yeah, because the tools, the community, the audience that they've cultivated, the what's the word I'm looking? The skills, right? Won't necessarily translate to working on other engines like Unity or whatever. So they stick with Roblox, and so this has made a gigantic industry of people churning out Roblox content and people consuming Roblox content, and
children,
and a lot of it's children, and it's unregulated.
Yes,
and it's a lot of it's done over Discord servers. So there's
a second
anonymity.
Of
There's a whole nother social media site. Yeah. So when you I lost my place in my notes here. Okay, so the follow-up video goes into further detail, also covering more stories of exploitation, Roblox's collectible economy, where players can swap or buy cosmetic items from each other, with prices for some cosmetics getting as high as $15,000. Which is insane, but not necessarily surprising.
I mean, EVE Online, Second Life, they all do it.
Yeah. Roblox didn't respond to People Make Games' request for comment on their first vid, but when they reached out again, Roblox sent them a statement about their original video. The story focuses on one specific instance between two developers named Sarah and Doctor. Sarah, obviously female, Doctor is male. When they first met on Discord, Sarah was 12 and Doctor was 24. Doc sent Sarah inappropriate jokes, which rose to the point of erotic role-playing, so their relationship got to the point of obviously being inappropriate, and in no context acceptable. But much like the rest of the world and the Me Too movement and things like that, coming forward about Doc's behavior meant drawing the ire of those who defend him. Doc is a well-known developer who made a well-known game in Roblox. So you've got concerns about, if you come out and say that this person's doing this, then your reputation may take a hit because people don't like you if you try to shake the boat or whatever. And of course, Roblox being a big thing, but not necessarily as big as the world. It's a sort of a small world, right? Where a lot of the well-known content creators know each other and know the things. I don't want to call it drama.
It's a club.
Yeah, it's they know what's going on.
They know what's going on.
Yeah. Doc's personal account was deleted by Roblox, but before that, Doc transferred ownership of his game to another account. When the video by People Make Games was published, Doc was still leading the development of his games, and presumably he was still garnering revenue from the games. So there's a lot to get into here.
And that's not even everything in the video. This is just this specific instance.
Yeah. So I'll let you go first if you have something you want to say off the top of your head. But there's the stuff People Make Games talked about in their video, and then there's Roblox's response, which are two like.
This has been going on a long time, not with just Roblox, but with sites like this in general for lots of kids. Obviously I just mentioned Second Life and EVE Online. EVE Online is a different beast. Second Life is, it's a Roblox for kids. I'm not really. I'm being facetious about it, but places like Gaia Online, Neopets, they all have these unfortunate, terrible communities of supposedly children who are actually adults who kind of prey on children. But the fact is that the problem is that there are no discernible steps in order to combat this when it comes to Roblox. And so it's caused this kind of cesspool of protection against those, because when the story came out against Doc, there were people from the community coming out to defend him. And even then his response was very, I don't even know what to call it. But
it was weird. It was odd. It was everyone admitted that what he said was wrong and stuff like that.
But he's not a pedophile.
But then there was a however in the sentence. And let me tell you, that however rivals Superman when it comes to strength, because it was holding up some crazy sentences.
Absolutely. On top of that, his response was extremely robotic. It was obviously read off a script.
Yeah, I think there was a video statement that he and a couple other developers made or something.
But it was just also this weird thing of I'm sorry for what I said. I'm not here to defend myself, but this is character assassination. And it's what? There's evidence. Sarah had evidence of all of this stuff, and Roblox has done nothing to get this guy off the platform and to prevent him from making money. He's still there. So
I forgot to add a piece of the statement in my notes, but the Roblox's statement back to People Make Games, they tried to set up an interview. It didn't work. Roblox wanted to instead answer, which that's a red flag. Yes. If you reach out for an interview and the response is, why don't you send me a couple questions and I'll answer them, that's red flag.
It's a screening.
So that's what People Make Games had to do, though. Yeah. And Roblox didn't really answer any of their questions. It was a lot of vague corporate speak. Yes. And so to paraphrase, they didn't answer any specific questions, but they just said a lot of, we have systems in place to protect the users of our game and blah, 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 which is fine, standard, and it doesn't inspire hope or confidence at all.
But there is an obvious, what you are saying is not being shown. Whatever statement you just gave me, you are not doing any of this.
Yeah, it's not. They're dodging a lot of questions. Yes. And I think one response, and we'll get into, because Roblox sent People Make Games a story and a blog post, I guess, and this blog post points out problems with People Make Games with their first video about Roblox, right? We'll get into that in a second. But I think, so we have $1 billion company that dodges questions and is really vague in their statements and doesn't answer anything. So that's problem number one. The blog post that they sent, as far as I can see, and People Make Games didn't say anything unless I missed it, but the blog post is not an official PR person for Roblox. It was apparently someone's personal blog,
right.
Some random person that wrote a critique of People Make Games' first video, right?
Yeah.
So it's a very bad critique of People Make Games video that is confusing, that misrepresents them. And I remember when I skimmed through it, and we're not going to read it. We're in a weird position, and I say we, like we're a part of this. But People Make Games are in a weird position because someone says, "Hey, your Roblox says you have all these inaccuracies in your video, according to this blog post we found." And so People Make Games is like, "Oh, okay, we better check that out. Where does this blog post come from? randomjoeblogs.com.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I guess we have to look at this." And they go there, and there's misrepresentations, there's misquotes, there's a complete misunderstanding of the arguments being had and being made and stuff.
Right.
So it's like, this is what you're pointing us to defend
Right.
yourselves with?
Yes.
That's ridiculous. That's asinine. That's embarrassing, right? And if that's the best way you can defend yourself, it obviously doesn't look great. So you have that whole aspect of everything. But in this post, and like I said, we're not going to read it, and it's weird because I don't know, it's a random person, So this isn't if this were a PR person, I'd read their words and whatever. But it's like
we'd quote them. Yeah.
People Make Games are put into a position where they made a video responding to a random person's critique of their video, which may not be an official critique from Roblox, but Roblox sent them the blog post. So what did they do? So they made a video responding to it, and it's unlisted. But if we'll put their new video in the description, and I highly recommend you check out their response video. But I just lost my train of thought. So in this response, something that keeps coming up, and I think sometimes we discuss this, is, and you sort of touched on it too, what happens at Roblox isn't vacuum sealed at Roblox, right? This sort of moderation happens everywhere. And I think that's one of the big challenges of the online world is you have all these free services like YouTube or Facebook or what have you. And anybody can jump on and create or comment or do anything. And so the floodgates are just open. And how do you moderate that? And no one's done a good job. No one has any idea how to moderate it. But that doesn't mean that, one, when a company is bad at it, you can't criticize them because it happens in other places. And two, I don't think that means that companies aren't negligent because it's a difficult thing to do, right? So I don't know. I don't know if that was one of the points that Roblox was trying to get across, that, hey, we can't cover all this stuff because we're just a multi-billion-dollar company. Like, what? Right. Or we're just valued at billions of dollars. What do you want us to do? But yeah, so there are no easy answers for how to solve Roblox's problems, but I don't have any sympathy because of what they're valued at. Yeah, and a lot of their infrastructure is based off of exploitation, and I don't think that's wrong to say. Yeah. They on their website they used to have, you can make serious cash. Yes. And they point this out in the video. After their first video, Roblox took that down from the website. There's not a thing telling kids, hey, you can, and it doesn't just tell kids, it tells anyone, but who's going to log into Roblox?
And it's generally not actual cash either. It's Robux,
you get
the Roblox currency, which I think one of the problems being that if you make a game for Roblox and it becomes successful, if you want to cash out on that, you can't exactly cash out with real money like you cash out with the Robux, and they will do their best to try to prevent you from actually getting your money.
Yeah, you have to reach, I think, so I remember the conversion being 100,000 Robux, which is the minimum you have to cash out through a process called DevX. So you take this fake in-game money and you can convert it to real money. 100,000 is $350, right? So I don't know what the conversion is ratio wise, but
it's all fake.
But it's difficult to get to 100,000 to 100,000 Robux, right? So people that are making millions of dollars off of Roblox. They're not. It's not like there are people all over the place that are just stumbling over money when they make games, right?
Right.
So but that's similar to YouTube. It's similar to a lot of things. One of the main differences with Roblox being that it also has a microtransaction economy. It has this weird collectibles market where you can swap things with players, and it's like an odd cottage stock market. Like, it's really weird to see.
Layers upon layers.
And there's a lot of children involved. And, once you start making a ton of money,
a lot of bullying too.
Yeah, and I'm sure. And again, like, I understand the issue with how do you moderate all this, but I'm not gonna, pat the CEO of Roblox on the back and go, "It's okay, buddy. I know it's difficult." It's like, I don't have any sympathy.
He's making the money.
You're making a ton of money. You're making it off a lot of kids.
Yeah.
Figure it out. No one
hire a third party to monitor stuff if you must. I don't know.
Yeah, and the thing is, without knowing the economics of it, sometimes I do just feel cynical, and I'm just like, why YouTube's system sucks is because they don't want to spend money on using humans to do it.
Yeah.
Now, in some cases,
algorithms. Yeah.
In some cases that's cynical because there are human controlled moderation systems, and these poor people have to pour through, like, is this a picture of a severed arm? Yes or no? And it's like, oh God, so so I understand that the conversation behind that is more complicated. But again, just because it's complicated doesn't mean you throw your hands in the air and go, well, just go ahead, 13-year-olds.
Leave it to its own accord. Yeah. Well, sorry, no, I was going to go somewhere else. Go ahead. No, I was just going to go back to the Roblox response to people make games. And
it's horrible.
It's
pathetic.
It's nothing is what it is. And I wonder if it's just because the Roblox Corporation thinks that people make games is just some sort of annoying bug that's kind of like pestering them at the moment. It's like, okay, here you go. Get out of it. Like, they're not Bloomberg. They're not,
sure, yeah.
Axios. They're not Verge, whoever. They're some YouTube channel who does a very good job at their investigative journalism, by the way. But at the same time, yeah, these responses are just, I feel like they are, I don't know, dummy responses to just kind of keep going and forget about whatever people make games has brought up to them.
Yeah.
Because they don't think it'll matter at the end of the day. And
I don't know.
It probably won't, unfortunately.
And it has to be emphasized that they point out in the video that this company is bigger than Nintendo, right? When it comes to
and the stocks, yes.
When it comes to value or whatever. This is one of the biggest companies in the world, Roblox. Which is partially depressing.
but yes, also, and that's the problem. It is another problem is the population's viewpoint of, when parents or grandparents or whatever look at Fortnite, it's like, oh, that's for kids. I'm not going to bother because it's for kids.
Sure.
And it's the same as they look like bootleg Legos.
That's exactly.
Dudes.
Yeah.
It
looks exactly like Legos.
What's the harm in that? Just probably goes through their head.
Yeah. Because you have no idea. That sort of dearms you. Disarms you.
Yes.
That sort of disarms you. But you don't see the creator economy that's underneath. You don't see the creator economy where all of a sudden a lot of it's done on Discord. So it's anonymity. You have no idea how old the people are.
How can you trace that? Yeah.
You can't, how do you trace that? I see, sometimes I've seen a couple people talk about that it comes down to parenting, but it's like, I don't, I think there's got to be a level where parents have to be aware of what their kids are doing. That seems reasonable to me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like online lives are so ubiquitous today that it's not like a parent can sit there over their child's shoulder and watch every single thing that they do online.
You can do your best though.
Yeah, sure. I'm not absolving parents of any responsibility.
No, that's fine. But like my just as a quick anecdote, my buddy, one of my best friends, his son plays Roblox, and his son has asked him for Robux before, and so he's already sat him down and tried to teach him, like, look, what you are getting with what you are buying is not something tangible. Like he's trying to teach him that like this is probably something you're going to get, and a month from now you're not gonna see it anymore. You're not gonna care. You're not gonna, So there are ways to at least try to make children understand if you are a parent. But yeah, you can't catch everything. It's impossible.
Yeah, and that starts with understanding what Roblox is and what microtransactions are. And yeah, I mean, I don't.
And that's not even getting into the story of the one guy who, as a kid, he made a game at 13 on Roblox, hit it big, and then got his game taken down because his assets that Roblox approved and gave him turned out to be stolen from somebody else. So they just basically said no to everything.
If I remember the story, it wasn't stolen from him.
No, it was.
It came from I don't even know how
someone else stole it.
Yeah, it was like 3 degrees down.
Yes.
And so when this person was punished for that action, that reverberated all the way to this person's game, right? And that's a case of moderation and security that. Yeah, that like, you went for the military base and you took out a school and a neighborhood with it. And it's like, God damn it, you didn't need to do that.
There's a contract you have to sign too, right? Like he showed a contract on the phone.
Yeah, a lot of these because they got into the cottage industry of Roblox development, and this is stuff where there are development teams, and it's on Discord, and they have contracts, and they pay their employees, and they have presidents and owners, and you have no idea if the president and owner is some, pretentious 14-year-old kid.
Right.
But so that's totally been, and in the video they talked about the CEO of Roblox talking about how they're soon to have the first Roblox game developed by 100 devs. Jesus. So they understand that this stuff, it's not, it's very much like YouTube, YouTube is not, there are a lot of people that it's like a scrappy guy who puts together a video on his own, but there are YouTubers that have producers and directors and camera people, and it's like a production, right? Yeah. They're making a TV show almost. And there are issues with that. It could be innocent as well. But when it's all done in-house, right, those people aren't using YouTube bucks that, are taken out of YouTube and transferred for a horrible transaction. But it's all done within Roblox, right? Yep. And they have the power. Well, they do. Yeah, they do. They have the power to fix a lot of that stuff. But it would seriously hurt the momentum that the company has built. And that's an issue that with a lot of gaming companies. So what do? Well, they decide not to fix it. And here we are. I think that's all I'd like to say.
There's way too much we're going to sit here all night talking about this.
Yeah, go watch the video. It's phenomenal. Watch the first video, second video, and then watch their response. Yeah. The response will blow you away. But again, it's like it's just a random blog post. I don't know if it was an official PR. There was no indication that it was official VR or official PR. You hope it wasn't official PR because some of the statements were like really odd and political and strange. And so if it's some normal guy, it's like, okay, you're posting on your blog, fine. But if the PR team at Roblox sat down and was like, this is acceptable to send to journalists, that's embarrassing.
Absolutely it is.
And if they're that bad at their job, I'm better at PR. Trust me. Sending nothing would have been better than sending the blog they sent.
I'm better at PR because I make a good Facebook post about what I have for sale in my store.
There you go. Without accusing people of political mishaps. Okay, moving on. The Raven Software layoffs. So after being told to expect increased wages, contract testers at Raven Software were told layoffs would go into effect on January 28th of next year. Now, this took place early December, so this was a story that we didn't get to, but it was something that we wanted to return to. Over the course of 6 days, workers were called into individual meetings and told that they were either going to be laid off or they were going to be kept on. Workers being kept on are being paid, being given a $1.50 raise, which ups pay to $18.50, as well as other benefits. Raven Software Associate Community Manager Austin O'Brien tweeted about the layoffs, saying, quote, I am gutted right now. My friends in QA at Raven were promised for months that Activision was working toward a pay restructure to increase their wages. These people were asked to relocate to Madison, Wisconsin to work. They are now out of a job. Our QA team does incredible work, but this will only increase their workload. But this will not only increase their workload, but crush morale, end quote. I think it's good to point out that Raven Software, I guess, is one of the main studios working on Call of Duty Warzone.
They used to make very good games.
It's true. One of the main support studios behind Call of Duty Warzone.
Yes.
So this is a studio that does a lot of
the heavy lifting.
Important work for keeping their live service games live servicey.
Mm-hmm. I heard something one time that any time that a company announces, specifically Activision, anytime that they announce their earnings, and they always hit record earnings, they always cut people. Like they always layoffs.
This is the second time this has happened in the past 2 years.
It's weird because it really sucks. You're getting rid of your QA. That's pretty essential to making sure your game is good. First off. But also, it is very strange as well that we keep hearing about these record earnings, but yet you can't pay your employees.
Yeah,
like you're especially, once again, important employees.
Especially when your CEO is taking a pay hit for some reason. Something about that. I don't know. It seems like you'd have a little bit more money to throw to a couple of QA testers. Yeah. I don't remember all the facts, but something like $65,000. I know he's probably making more than that with different things.
Oh,
but
no, he's making a ton. He's making a ton. And it's just until something extreme happens, like these guys at top aren't going to realize that it's like it's like they are sitting on top of a cart. This is a terrible analogy, but I'm going with it. They're sitting on a cart that's going down the road, getting to where they need to go, but they're not taking care of their tires.
Sure, no,
and
that makes sense.
Their tires are gonna blow eventually, and they're gonna.
Yeah, Activision defended itself, saying that they did bring on quite a few. I think it was like 500. They converted like 500 employees from part-time to full-time, which is great and stuff. Sure. So, I don't know. And I don't want to sit here and say, if this was only 5 employees, where it was only 5 employees. Mm-hmm. But this is an industry where this happens all the time. Yeah. People move to go somewhere, and then all of a sudden they're let go. They show up at the door and they're let go. Yeah. And it's one thing if it's a professional baseball player who learns from SportsCenter that he was traded. He's got millions of dollars. It sucks, but he'll be fine. These are not millionaires who are, crossing the country to take a job. You're working an $18.50, $17 an hour job, right? Yeah. So it's not like you have tons of resources or something like that. Which,
considering where is Raven Software? Is it in California?
No, it's Wisconsin, I think.
Well, now or is it now Wisconsin?
I think it's still,
because they said they were relocating to Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think.
I'm going to look that up. Sorry.
You go ahead and look it up. But the question I would have is, and I guess this is sort of the same with Roblox, it is in Wisconsin. It is in Wisconsin? Yeah. Okay. Why does this happen? Is this something that needs to be happening for your company to stay afloat, or is it some other reason?
Can't you just switch to one ply?
Okay, Dwight. Sorry. No, that's sort of the question I have. And I understand the economics of the games industry are complicated and the economics of the world are even more complicated. Mm-hmm. But are they so complicated that you have to get rid of a couple QA testers, a couple days before the holidays, and they're out looking for jobs and stuff like that? I don't know. And especially a company that I have absolutely no sympathy for in Activision Blizzard, that is just in an atrocious... Before Roblox sent that stupid blog post to People Make Games, the dumbest thing that I saw in games this year was Bobby Kotick was Activision... revealing or whatever, that Bobby Kotick drafted France Townsend's letter about the which I know is a lot of steps there, but that was the dumbest thing in games I had seen this year. And that is still stunning that that's a fact that we know about, but the world continues to spin somehow, even though I feel like it should have been knocked off its axis and into the sun. But back to my original point. That's sort of the question that I have is, does this need to be happening is for your company to stay afloat, or does this need to happen because financial maneuvering, you make a little bit more this quarter, different considerations like that? Because if that's the case, then you're just being assholes, you know? And I don't. Too bad Connor's not here, because I don't see why you don't just cut some executive salary and hire more people. And at the end of the day, if you play video games, these are the people you should care about, not some random executive that nobody cares about. Yes. Like, these are the people you should care about. These are the offensive linemen of the video game world, the bottom up, right? So it sucks when the industry doesn't treat them well, because QA has a reputation of being a sucky place to start, but it's such an important job, and video games would suck without QA, because it does so much important work, especially for a QA for a studio, and their whole gig is making sure the hashtag YOLO Twitch shooter that, you know, Activision has is still working. Yeah. So it's not even working on like breakneck new frontiers, which, you know, not to down. Maybe they love their job. Maybe they love Warzone. That's fine. That's a little bit of personal bias there.
Oh, that's 20. So this is the second time this year that Activision has laid off people.
Is it?
Yes.
Sorry. A lot has happened, and I just...
No. I was wondering, because I'm just like, didn't we talk about this already? You know, sure. and then apparently when I started typing in Activision layoffs, it's like 2020, 2019, 2018, 20. So it's like,
yeah, I was gonna say,
and we only hear from them. We don't hear from Ubisoft. I don't remember that. I mean,
I'm
Ubisoft's
sure
not great either.
Oh no,
but we have not heard.
Yeah.
Of like massive layoffs at Ubisoft, massive layoffs at Bethesda, whatever.
Yeah, sure. Are we ready to move on to Ubisoft?
You mean, yeah.
Ubisoft defends its NFT platform. So Ubisoft recently announced Quartz, which is an NFT platform for unique in-game items that claims to be energy efficient. If you don't know what an NFT is, that's okay. Nobody knows what an NFT is, literally. It's a non-fungible token, and from what I understand, it is a receipt saying that you own something, a digital artifact of some kind. So if there's a picture on the internet,
like a microtransaction,
yeah, you get a receipt saying you own that picture. Does that mean other people can't take a screenshot and then put that picture on their phone? It does not. It just says that you own it. You own a receipt. That's an NFT.
Mona Lisa is in the Louvre.
Sure.
Some guy takes a photo of the Mona Lisa and goes, "This is mine and only mine.
This picture of the Mona Lisa.
You can't take a picture of it, but I can sell it to you."
Exactly. And you can either look at the Mona Lisa, take a picture of yourself, or take a picture of his picture and then call that picture yours.
But I'm going to charge you for it. Yes.
This is the future of humanity. We could have gone to the moon more. Instead, we chose this. Welcome to hell.
We could have been in Mars by now, honestly.
Yeah, we could have. So they announced this Quartz project or platform. Fans, as well as normal everyday people, reacted as you'd expect. There was a lot of criticism. In an interview with Decrypt, which is a website we'll get into here in a second, Ubisoft blockchain technical director Didier Genevois, I think it's Didier Genevois, I'm going to say, responded to the criticism saying, quote, "We have received a lot of feedback since the announcement, and we hear both the encouragement and the concerns. This experiment is meant to understand how the value proposition of decentralization can be received and embraced by our players. We know it is a major change that will take time, but we will stay true to our 3 principles," end quote. Those 3 principles are to use tech responsibly and build a safe environment for players and NFTs, only leverage energy-efficient proof-of-stake blockchains, and focus on meaningful value propositions for players that benefit their gaming experience. As Eurogamer pointed out, Decrypt is a news site dedicated to demystifying the decentralized web. They are owned by Consensys, a blockchain company, but they do say on their About page that they are editorially independent and technologically agnostic. So, hey, we're owned by these people. but we promise we're not influenced by them, which may or may not be true. I don't know. I just think it was a funny thing to say.
Yeah, it's like Platinum. No, wrong. Who was last week? Who was bought by Tencent last week? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Forget it.
Okay.
My analogies are way off tonight.
Not having a good day.
Not when it comes to analogies.
If there were a baseball announcer today, he goes, and there goes Richard out again. He's over 3 on the night. That's my baseball guy. It's not very good.
No, it's good.
Needs more work.
It's standard.
Standard?
Yeah. So that's like default.
It's like baseball announcer. It's not like Fox Primetime. It's like Fox Regional, like Minnesota.
Yeah.
That's what that would be.
Hey, were you in the Sandlot?
All right. So first of all, to be clear, Ubisoft has no principles. I just want to say that out loud.
It's obvious.
Because
they're chasers.
NFTs are like dumb. And on one hand, I understand. And we talked about this before. The idea of decentralization, of cryptocurrency, of taking currency away from banks, and not literally away, but sort of a different way of spending this thing that humanity has decided we're going to base our entire society on. And removing that from banks and the established economic system. Like, I understand that. And I also understand on some level NFTs, because it gives you a way to own something, artists to own something and make money on their art that is really difficult otherwise, because it's a digital thing. So it doesn't have any physical attributes, right? All that's fine. This is not that. This is a company that sees money to be made. And so let's go try and make some of that NFT money. And I said in a previous video or in a previous podcast, if eating trash on TikTok became really popular and you could make money off of eating trash, all these companies would have an eating trash executive director who would talk about, listen, we want our players to be able to eat trash in a safe environment. And we think, our games can get better with the different eating trash options that we have available for our games.
We've screened this trash before we place it on your plate.
We're an ever-evolving trash-eating company.
No needles.
Now in Tom Clancy's Breakthrough, every 15 steps, there's a trash pile. You hold E, the guy just eats the trash.
It's kind of like the animation from the Lego game, but you're eating the trash.
It's the same sound effect, though. No. But, I mean, so the point I'm trying to get to is these ideas of decentralization, the philosophy of the philosophy of decentralization, of cryptocurrency, of people that believe in this ideologically and philosophically is one thing. This is none of that. This is just a company that sees a new field of revenue, so that's what they're going for. And I don't think that's cynical. I think that's just the truth. So it makes me roll my eyes, especially a company like Ubisoft that doesn't even treat its employees well, whose CEO apparently was just as much of a victim as everybody else. And they're going to say that they have principles and stuff like that when it comes to blockchain and blockchain technologies and NFTs. It just makes me roll my eyes. It's ridiculous. And it's frustrating, one part, because they have Ghost Recon. And I want to like Ghost Recon again. But they just can't do it, and it bothers the hell out of me.
What? I'm so, first off, this is just relating to Ghost Recon. I'm so numb to the name Ghost Recon now that I completely forgot that it was a military simulation shooter
at one point.
Yes. And Advanced Warfare was fairly difficult because I didn't understand. You couldn't just shoot things. You had to actually think about your movement. Anyways, I don't like NFTs. It's not, the powers that be dictate that this is going to happen. Unfortunately, we can't stop it. Like, they're going to try to force it down our throats one way or another. But it's, these Ubisoft particularly is the one that's really trying to push it, and then of course Stalker, the guys who did Stalker,
they ended up canceling
it, because backlash.
Which that got all kinds of. There was like a meta-human thing you could do. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't remember, but it was odd.
The point I'm getting at is that, like, if Ubisoft really wanted to, with their newest division coming out, the Division Heartland or whatnot.
Is that a new division or DLC?
It's a new division.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's like they just need to look at two games that are already doing the NFT thing, and that is Counter-Strike and Team Fortress 2. With the Team Fortress 2 with the hats and the whatever, and Counter-Strike with the different skins and knives. Like, those are NFT, like those
They're
are
closely related.
The
Yeah.
same idea, like
closely
and
related.
it's like you're trying to introduce something with far more steps to it than just creating a. Oh my God, I was about to say it. I don't want to say it. A more scarce digital item, and it's like, what? Wait, no, I had to stop myself. But you know, and we already have this. It's microtransactions. It's
sure.
Counter-Strike. It's Team Fortress 2. Like, it's a Killing Floor 2 does it as well.
Oh, do they?
They have like, they have chests you can't open until you get a key, but you can't get the key until you've played for X amount of hours and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Anyways, so it's also just very frustrating because they can make more money doing it
this
that way
than
trying to hawk NFTs, which up until about a week ago they've only sold about 15 and made less than $2,000 in sales.
Yeah, which I don't know. But that, I guess, and that goes back to my point, is this isn't about the philosophy of decentralization. Mm-hmm. You know, this is about
a cash grab.
This is a revenue stream, and how do we tap into that? Mm-hmm. And that is not a part of making good video games. It's just a part of chasing trends, and it's frustrating. One, when you're a company that has a horrible track record with its employees, like Ubisoft and Activision, but it's also frustrating when you have the tools available to make good games, but your aim is completely off, and I just don't know why. I don't know who's making these decisions. But yeah,
he's them all.
Well, yeah, I guess he's one of them, sure. The idea that NFTs are, and not a single person has. I have not seen an idea for an NFT-based game that has made me go, oh, that sounds good. Every single time I see, no, you own this plot of land, it makes me think, I never want to play that game. I never want to log into that piece of shit. Never, ever, because it just sounds horrible to play.
And I think that's already done on Final Fantasy 14. Like, because you can have houses, but like you have to wait your turn in order to buy that. Like,
oh, really?
Plot, but I think you can sell it eventually, and that's how some people make money. The auction house in Diablo 3, like, this is all stuff we have done before.
But the big difference being that NFTs add that extra step of, I bought a hat.
Exclusivity,
exactly.
bragging rights.
And I'm not saying it's smart, but it's like, in Diablo, it's like, hey, I bought this hat for my character. Okay, cool. And then, in Diablo 5, when they introduce NFTs, it's like, oh, I bought this hat for my character, and I own it. Mm-hmm. Like, what are you talking about? No, I own this specific one because I have a thing that says I own it.
If you zoom in on my character model, I have a little serial number on it.
And, it...
Yeah, cool. Can I play the game?
It's part of the economy that has sprouted from microtransactions and cosmetics, and it's existentially horrifying because of its implications. And these companies, and again, this is something else. When executives say what players want, there's two things are happening. Mm-hmm. One, they know they're being disingenuous, so they're actively lying to the person that they're talking to. And two, and sometimes this happens at the same time, they're working under the definition of want as what makes money. Yeah. Because very clearly the reaction to NFTs, except for a few weirdos on Twitter, the reaction to NFTs is nobody wants this shit. We're already in a state where the economy and the games industry, where so much of it is based on bullshit microtransactions. Mm-hmm. NFTs are not, it's been universal, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm perfectly fine in saying that the reaction has not been, this looks great, this is a great addition.
It has not been receptive.
Been overwhelmingly negative. So when you try to pass it off as, some people have said bad things, some people have said good things, blah 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 blah. That's not the state of the world. Mm-hmm. You got one guy who's cheering you on, the rest of the stadium's booing you. That's what's happening. Anyway, I'm done talking about Ubisoft.
Yeah, no, NFTs suck.
All of these companies we have talked about, Roblox, Activision, Ubisoft, tons of money, super rich, completely embarrass themselves.
Can we at least have one nice story every week?
That's a good idea. We should have one.
Just as a chaser.
Yeah, we should have the nice story. We should have the, I don't know, we'll call it, we'll give Connor a segment or something he can do.
Tidbits.
Oh, hey! A man discusses the news, but not like the big news, the little news. Little bit. This is the Tidbits. Although I do remember the time we had a tidbit story about the composer who died.
Yeah.
And I remember the conversation going, I'd never heard of the guys. You were like, hey, this guy who worked on these series, he was a composer.
Acceptive of war crimes. And
yeah, and you're like, oh, is he? And I was like, oh, that's too bad.
Rape of Man King happened.
He was a rape of Man King denier. It's like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, sorry.
Burying the lead there.
Well,
anyway.
This story isn't.
It was newsworthy.
This story isn't as bad, but it's not a great story.
Oh boy. Okay. Well.
Star Wars Eclipse is already in trouble, according to a new rumor. Industry insider Thomas Henderson has come out with a video, and he has information that he says should be taken as a rumor, although he is an insider, so he's heard of it somewhere. Anyways, he says that one of the main contentions is that the engine that Quantic Dream uses isn't suitable for the type of gameplay that Eclipse is presenting. The engine was designed for the type of gameplay that you'd find in like Heavy Rain Beyond, Detroit All Human, the very storytelling, slow-driven gameplay. So adapting it for the rumored action title has been a bit difficult. Henderson also adds that the assets for Eclipse has been in development for 18 months. For 18 months now, and they still have no playable internal demo.
Interesting. I wonder how long it takes until there's a playable internal demo. I would talk about game development because that's not something I know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
It is interesting though.
It is interesting.
I honestly, one part of me is just happy to know that there are multiple Star Wars games being developed.
Yeah.
Even if
one of them has to be a hit.
yeah. You got to throw something's got to stick to the wall, and some of them are going to fall off the wall, and that's fine. But at least we're throwing things at a wall because before that, EA was sitting back with all its sticky hands in its lap, going, "I don't know what to do with these. I'm Electronic Arts."
They're trying, is what is happening. So that is good. An unreleased Game Boy peripheral has been revealed. The YouTube channel Did You Know Gaming, which is a personal favorite of mine, channel of mine, has revealed the Page Boy, a peripheral for the Game Boy, the original Game Boy. And Game Boy Color, I think. The device would have included an address book, world clock, currency conversions, and more.
That's awesome.
It would have used radio waves like a pager on Page Boy to access a search engine called Ask Mario. Mario would talk to them. It even whistled like the Mario theme. And the device would also feature something called the Game Boy TV, where Nintendo could make new announcements regarding upcoming games. But of course, it was canceled.
Wow, when was this?
This was in the 90s.
That's way ahead of its time.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's like the Xbox One in the 90s, but Nintendo.
This is actually a second part video. The first part video they did was for something called the Work Boy, which they did have a playable prototype of. And so that was like a cartridge that went into your Game Boy, and then you had a little keyboard with it, and you would use it to type up notes and stuff on your. It was very, very interesting video, and it was actually funny because the guy he interviewed who worked on the Work Boy, he asked him about it, and he's like, "Oh, yeah." And he just had it right there, and he's like, "What?" so it's a great video to watch, and all of their videos are great to watch. Anyways. Last tidbit, over 50,000 Japanese users voted for their favorite console video games of all time.
Interesting.
Japanese television network TV Asahi aired the special program 50,000 Users Vote, the TV Game National Poll. They aired it actually earlier today, which was like 5 a.m. our time or something. Anyways. They announced the results of the poll, which more than 50,000 users across Japan casted their votes for their favorite games. I will go over some notable ones, and then I will list the top 10.
Okay, sounds good.
So, 95, we have Mother, which is Earthbound in the U.S. By the way, I should also note that, Japan's tastes and the games that they get are wildly different.
It's like they have a different culture over there or something.
Well, yeah, no. Who would have
it's like
thought?
It's a different country.
But there are some very surprising entries, at least in my opinion. 93 was Persona 5 Royal. 88 was Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Number 79 was Metal Gear Solid. Number 66 was Ghost of Tsushima.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
This one surprised the hell out of me. Number 59 is Dead by Daylight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Number 40 was Xenogears. Number 30, Apex Legends.
Interesting. That's a much younger audience.
Yes, and Apex Legends is actually quite popular over there, thanks to their VTubers.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Number 23 is Fire Emblem 3 Houses. Number 18, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Number 13, Undertale.
Okay.
That was very good. So I went over just a couple of highlights from each, 90s, 80s, 70s, whatever. So here's the top 10. Mario Brothers 3 at number 10. Number 9 is Final Fantasy 10. Number 8 is Chrono Trigger. Number 7 is Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. Number 6, Dragon Quest 3, The Seeds of Salvation. Number 5, Splatoon 2. Number 4, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Number 3, Final Fantasy 7. Number 2, Dragon Quest 5, Hand of the Heavenly Bride. And number 1 is Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
So, yeah.
Animal Crossing's up there, huh?
Yeah, Animal Crossing was very popular on the 64 when it came out over there. So, but yeah, it's just grown since then. But I don't have anything else to add to that. I just wanted to list those. I always think these types of lists are really interesting.
And that's a sample size of 50,000. So
50,000, yes.
That's really cool.
That is cool. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously not the entire nation, so
no, of course.
But
when it comes to votes for your favorite console game, that's the biggest sample size I've ever seen.
Yeah,
there may be bigger ones. I don't know if Pew Research has done politics polls and then in the middle of asking what they think about, some horrible political thing, they're like, oh, by the way, give us your top 10 games real quick off the top of your head.
Tetris.
No, let's get back to Trump.
Wait, I wasn't done. But no, congrats to Ghost of Tsushima. I do remember when that game came out, it caught fire in Japan because it was just the attention to detail that Sucker Punched had. Dead by Daylight was just very surprising. I didn't think it was that big over there, but they do like horror. Japan is a huge horror fan. So.
And there are some specifically Japanese horror.
Yes, characters, villains, and whatnot. Yeah, that's true. But
is the girl from The Ring in it?
She's coming. She was just announced.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I wanted to say there was a few others too, but I don't remember.
That makes sense. Resident Evil's in there. Silent Hill's in there.
Yeah. Were those on the list? Resident Evil or Silent Hill? Biohazard?
They were, yeah. Biohazard was on the list. I didn't hold on my links right here.
Okay, because I would imagine they're pretty high because those have got to be some of the favorites.
Yeah, some of the all the Personas were on there. Persona 3 was 100. Persona 4 was 98. Let's see. Street Fighter 2 is 91. Where is this? Mario Kart, Kirby. Gran Turismo 4 was number 73. Pokemon. Where are you?
Well, anyway.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, number 32 was Resident Evil.
Okay, so pretty high up there. Mm-hmm. I wanted to discuss one thing, and by discuss I mean maybe just have like a 10-second sentence. They announced, who was it that announced this is totally off the top, the Star Trek. There's going to be like a Star Trek Telltale style.
Yeah,
that is. I don't know who was doing it.
It's former devs from Telltale.
Okay. But that is such a perfect way to do a Star Trek game. I agree. It is perfect.
I agree.
Star Trek's never been about the combat. You can do a combat Star Trek game, and I'm sure it'll be okay.
They have tiffs.
Sure. They have to put in the phaser in post, so the actors have to stand there for a second. But that is such a perfect way to tell a Star Trek story, is to have it. And I remember when I made a video about this, one of the first things I said was that I made a video about how would you go about making a perfect Star Trek game.
That's right, I remember that video.
And I remember one of the first things I said was like a Telltale style point and click, or like even something like Quantic Dream, maybe not the writing, but but the technical, the gameplay, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It would just be perfect because a lot of it, like you can watch a Star Trek episode and you can just imagine a dialogue box, and then it pauses, and you have to pick what Picard is about to say or something like that. Right. It's just phenomenal. So, I'm really, really, really excited for that.
If they understand what they have to do, I think that there could be a very huge. It'd be a positive thing. The morality choices that you have in the game could be outstanding too if they really, really stuck to them.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, no. When I first saw that, I was like, this is it. I think this is what a Star Trek game should be, compared to like that, the one based off the movie was like a third-person cover shooter. And it's like, it's not really.
No, and and I'm not against actiony different
Trek games,
but I mean, there are no games right now, so it'd be nice to have a game that really pulls from the television show. Mm-hmm. But then once you get that, then it's fun to have a game where you fly a ship around and shoot Klingons or Romulans or something like that. That'd be fun. Anyway, that's all the tidbits?
That's all the tidbits.
Okay. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse, where we post videos And we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.